Sir, lastly, and I want to make it very clear on the record, and it's unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be.
He decides to flip and become a cheese eater.
As a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless.
Melly just watched YNW Bortlen live stream from his jail blog as he accepted his plea offer. In exchange for his plea, YNW Bortlen accepted a plea deal. It was stated, 10 years in prison and 6 years of probation will be his terms. He faced several life sentences. However, as part of his agreement, Bortlen disclosed all of his knowledge regarding the YNW Melly case. Quote, "I don't know how your lawyers pulled this off," even the judge stated.
It's my understanding that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct? Yes. And that resolution is an agreement you've reached with the state, the terms of which are as follows. Number one, in the 19 case, you're going to plead no contest to both counts of accessory after the fact. In the 23 case, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 counts as charged. In exchange for that, the state is going to null process, that is, drop the 2 first-degree. In exchange for that, I'm going to adjudicate you guilty on the 2 accessory counts as well as the tampering count. I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
From 5 life sentences to 10 years in prison with time served. This is the best plea bargain ever. DJ Academics wrote, YNW Bortlen pled no contest on both charges, according to the judge. He must next give a factual justification for accepting the plea. In other words, you must provide a true account of how you were an accessory to the crime, proving that it actually occurred. YNW Melly is also accused of this offense. This is a gun plea, but he can't say yes, ma'am, because of the proffer. As he goes on to describe how it's a plea agreement, like the guns in the YSL RICO trial, he must sing like Franklin.
Tweet out saying people are upset. I said, this is a gunner plea. This is a gunner plea. This isn't a plea saying you have to tell on him, but this is a plea that you're going to have to provide all the details that they were missing to convict him. And that's why it's a gunner plea. Why do I say he signed a gunner plea? Because YNW Melly, and I watched the case, we covered it. YNW Melly's case is that, number one, you guys have not done a job to prove that this is actually they have proved, but prove that this is a homicide with this person being the offender. Also, the accessory after the fact plea confirms that Bortlen, that's kind of like almost like a sub part of a conspiracy, except you weren't with the conspiracy at first. You came in after the fact. What that proved is that they came in. What that proved is that Bortlen worked with someone after he acknowledged that a took place in trying to cover it up. You hear what I just said? When pleading to an accessory to after the fact, you have to acknowledge that it happened and you assisted someone or in some way to cover the. Now, if Melly's statement is, how do we know? And then secondly, how do we know who did it? Because they said it was a drive-by.
Following his acceptance of a plea agreement in his double case, Lil Wayne and Kodak Black's lawyer, Bradford Cohen, stated that YNW Bortlen had bitten the cheese and was likely to turn on rapper YNW Melly.
All right, let's talk YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen. He is now doing the triple Lindy. For those youngsters that don't know what the triple Lindy is, it is when you do several flips off a high dive, and he will be flipping. He is going to be tell-all about anything he knows about the double case, and they will know if he's telling the truth or telling a lie when he gives his full quote-unquote confession as to what happened that evening. And that's what happens. A lot of times where guys are in the prison for 4 or 5 years awaiting trial and looking at a life sentence, and they're offered 10 years where they'll be home probably in another 3 years that he'll serve, he decides to flip and become a cheese eater. And that's what happens a lot of times on these cases. And I was expecting it to happen a lot sooner than it did. He held out for quite some time. But long story short is it looks like he's going to flip. And it makes the case on YNW Melly, depending on what he says, which I anticipate he'll say that YNW Melly is responsible.
6x99 would write as well. YNW Bortlen recently agreed to a plea agreement with the prosecution. YNW Melly is done. Years ago, I was informed all about these rap guys, but they picked me out because they were afraid of my fame. In court today, the judge even informed YNW Bortlen that the prosecution would like him to undergo an interview, most likely discussing the crime he committed with YNW Melly
Lastly, and I want to make it very clear on the record, and it's unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be. What I want you to understand, sir, is I guess that's part of this negotiated resolution, but your answers to any of those questions, whatever they might be, have no bearing on me and have no bearing on this negotiated resolution. In other words, the deal you've negotiated is the deal you've negotiated, and that's the ballgame. Do you understand all that, sir? Have you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about all that? They've answered all your questions? You're sure that that's what you want to do?
fact that YNW Bortlen received such a lucrative plea agreement makes it clear that the state solely wants YNW Melly. Offset went so far as to tweet, "Damn, his best friend snitched on YNW Melly. Let the boy go. He had spent far too much time behind bars." But Moreland had no other option. He had to deal with this while incarcerated. If you would have taken the bargain as well, please leave a comment below.
Mr. Henry, do you understand the offer that the state is making to you? Okay, you're charged as follows. Counts 1 and 2 is the first degree with a firearm. Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. If the jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged, that's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. Count 3 and count 4 are accessory after the fact to murder in the first degree. Those are each first degree felonies. The maximum penalty for each of those is 30 years in Florida State Prison. Count 1 is tampering with a witness in a capital felony. That is punishable by life in Florida State Prison. Is directing the activities of a criminal, that's a first degree felony punishable by life. So the maximum penalty there is also life in Florida State Prison. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit tampering. And again, as it's charged, that is also a life felony. As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. Life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State.
For a few particular reasons, they are negotiating a plea agreement with YNW Bortlen. One is that YNW Bortlen conducted an interrogation the night of the crime. Bortlen would be directly asked by the officer, "Would you tell me who committed this crime?"
Just telling me the truth, even if it's something that I don't want to hear, but I respect the truth rather than BS, okay? And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay? You may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
Because I wouldn't want to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to.
Where Bortlen shakes his head no, rather than utilizing his voice to deliver a definitive yes or no response. This is because Bortlen would undoubtedly be aware that Melly was the criminal. Therefore, he would have been lying during the entire interview if he had said no by utilizing his voice, which would have caused it to crack or come out at a different volume, under a lot of pressure. The police could see this. Moreland had no desire to be involved at all. Even during his interrogation, he was unable to speak. Just getting out of the case was all he wanted. Additionally, the feds already had proof that Melly committed the crime. He actually acknowledged it.
PC Gambino account asked him if he was okay, and his response was, "I did that," and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time. The YNW Melly count says what?
After that, SHHHH.
Melly, however, always believed he would win the case. While incarcerated, YNW Melly requested a $100,000 chain even before Bortlen's guilty agreement.
Assume
But it's still,
that he spent a lot of money on lawyers, like an amount that would probably...
That kid spent a lot of money on a lot of things that shouldn't have been spent on.
Really? Like what else?
and cars, jewelry. And he's not even out to wear the jewelry. I'm like, why are you buying jewelry and you're not here to wear the jewelry?
No, definitely lawyers are probably the best thing you can spend.
That's
money
what
on.
bro. But
Yeah.
he's good with lawyers, bro. Like, money ain't an issue for lawyers. Like, he's fine, but it's just like, it was a lot of stuff that should have went to lawyers that he didn't spend on lawyers. And I'm like, bro. And now it's like, he don't even want to chain no more.
However, nobody is even discussing how the feds arranged for YNW Bortlen to turn on Melly. The news article that began, it said, Melly's double retrial has been postponed once again in order to give the state attorney's office time to examine a motion. The 4th District Court of Appeals granted a stay in the case during a hearing on Friday. Due to the stay, the trial will now take place in January 2027 instead of September, since the state would submit a ton of documentation stating that they wish to incorporate fresh evidence into the next trial. However, all they sought was more time to work out a plea agreement with YNW Bortlen. This was verified when the news reported that the YNW Melly trial now has a no communication order in place. Melly and Bortlen are totally cut off by the edict. Silence, no legal talk, no talking. In this manner, Bortlen was unable to even contact YNW Melly to inform them of the prosecutor's intentions.
Here, and you can try them together. It is to the benefit of the state to try them together. It's just more efficient. You don't have to do things again and again. Do it all at once, and also you get a better chance of having them incriminate each other during the trial. It benefits the defense to sever it. That way they can point the finger at each other and get away with it. So this is what's going on. But I don't think it should be automatically severed because the state is seeking a penalty for Melly, because it's only the penalty phase of the trial that would be different, not the guilt phase. The guilt phase is the same. They're both capital crimes. You're seeking the penalty on one, not the other, but that goes into the second part of the trial, the penalty phase, only if Melly is found guilty.
All they need to do is validate the evidence against Melly. And with YNW Bortlen on their side, Melly will be found guilty at his next retrial. However, you were also unaware that Melly attempted to snitch on Bortlen during the initial trial. Additionally, Melly and Bortlen have not spoken to one another since this point.
Those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with two bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry.
The jury was informed by YNW Melly's own attorney that Bortlen was the one who had lied to the federal government. Bortlen was the last person with a Juvian sack chaser when they passed, and he had powder residue on his hands. To provide more information about Bortlen's possession of the powder residue, they even brought a forensic scientist to the stand that covered the deaths.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of pot residue and two component particles. And the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of pot residue and 1 2-component particle.
And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was pot residue present on the hands.
For the past few years, Bortlen has been aware that he will snitch on the case because of this. According to a report, we saw Bortlen tweet a mysterious message on the same day Melly's mistrial was declared. Since the writing has been on the wall for a few years, but no one is even discussing it. The tweet says, "Mind games don't work on people like me." It also includes a handshake emoji, which suggests that he is accepting a deal. Even more worrisome, though, is that YNW Bortlen has every reason to turn on Melly, given what was discovered in his house.
His co-defendant YNW Bortlen was booked into a Miami jail Monday night and is being held behind bars on an out-of-county warrant. We just confirmed the warrant is out of Broward County for witness tampering. The warrant obtained by Law and Crime Network states as follows. On or about April 10, 2023, continuing through and including July 22, 2023, Cortland Henry, aka Bortlen, along with others, did unlawfully and knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward another person with the intent to cause or induce them to withhold testimony. The warrant continues the alleged witness had been summoned by the legal process to the jury trial of Jamel Dimmons, aka YNW Melly. The dates in the warrant are important. Jury selection for Melly started in mid-April, and a judge declared a mistrial on July 22nd, the same day the warrant claims Bortlen allegedly tampered with the witness.
That's where things stand right now. From plea bargains and leaked interrogations to delayed retrials and silence orders, it's clear the state has one target in mind: YNW Melly. Whether Bortlen's deal seals Melly's fate, or whether the defense can still find cracks in the prosecution's case, remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Stay tuned, because the next chapter in this saga could decide everything.